Dabai. Now, the 2022 this year marks a significant year for the country as we head into the national general elections. How do we progress in these elections 2022, learning from past experiences? This morning on our Building Elections Integrity Through Partnerships project, we will talk around the 2022 national general elections. This is program number 4, and joining us for this conversation this morning, we're privileged to have in the studio with us Ms. Kathy Alex, Program Manager with Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network, and Ms. Roslyn Tobogani, Assistant Election Manager NCD with the PNG Electoral Commission, and Ms. Alice Areori, Transparency International PNG. Ladies, good morning to you. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio with us as we are about to have this important conversation.
Good morning to you as well.
Good morning. All right, as usual, when we do get into our talks, we have our guests joining us this morning. It would be nice to learn a bit about yourself and, of course, the respective roles that you carry out in your daily life and your work. And so we have joining us Ms. Kathy Alex. You are the Program Manager with Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network. Good to have you with us this morning. Maybe a bit about yourself and Advancing PNG Women's Leaders Network.
I'm grateful to be here on this important occasion. Thanks to TIPNG for the invite to APNG to be part of this. The Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network is a network of women leaders around the country, providing access to resources and connections that build women leaders and their organizations to progressively influence positive change in their communities. We are based here in Mosby, but we provide support to women leaders throughout the country, and especially our members. I have been working with the Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network for roughly around 6 years now, but more than 15 years experience with the NGO world. Yeah.
Good one. Thank you for that bit of an insight. And also joining us this morning from the PNG Electoral Commission, we have Assistant Election Manager NCD, Ms. Roslyn Tobogani. Good morning to you. Maybe a bit about, of course, yourself and your respective role.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, I am the Assistant Election Manager. Roslyn Tobogani is my name. Okay, this year is an election here. We just complete, for NCD, we just complete the enrollment update for the 14 days field work. And we are ready to go into the nominations. Our program is very tight and hectic at this moment, and I'm very glad to be here and be part of this panel on here. Thank you.
And great to have you on board with us for this part of our conversation this morning. Now, importantly, we are talking on this Building Elections Integrity Through Partnership project. It's program number 4, and the topic is on the 2022 national general elections. Of course, Alice also here with us from Transparency International, and maybe getting into this part of our discussion, Alice, what is TIPNG doing to strengthen elections integrity for 2022?
Okay, thank you. So again, my name is Alice Areori, and I'm the project lead for the Building Elections Integrity Through Partnership. So to all the listeners out there who are listening on the radio or watching this session live on Facebook, Transparency International is actually part of a global movement. Our mission is to empower people to take action against corruption. So we have a project at the Transparency International, which is called the Building Elections Integrity Through Partnership. Our focus is really on empowering voters to take action against corruption, as well as bringing civic awareness to the communities, churches, schools, our stakeholders, and various civil society groups on very important key messages. Because here at Transparency International, we believe that voters need to be informed or stay informed so that they make informed decisions, especially with the national elections that are coming up.
You mentioned civic awareness, and so how important is it, at this time, especially that we understand the importance or the meaning of civic awareness?
Okay, so we've been carrying out civic awareness in almost 8 provinces so far. So we've done Eastern Britain, East Tipik, Milne Bay, Central, Eastern Highlands, Jiwaka, and Leh as well. I guess it's very important for people to know very important key messages, values that they need to know to vote for good leaders. And that's what we've been advocating about as well, and also talking about the electoral processes in our country, so that people are aware of these coming national elections.
All right, and for this part of our conversation this morning, 2022 national general elections. What are free, fair, and safe elections? We'll get into that part of the conversation this morning. What are free, fair, and safe elections? And so, Roslyn, to you, what do we mean by free, fair, and safe elections?
Thank you. Free, fair, and safe elections say it all. For this year and for the election, elections are free for all citizens of the society and for this country. And it has to be fair. People have to have a fair election, and it has to be safe for voters or eligible voters and a citizen to go out to mark our leader. It has to be their own thought, what they believe in, and what they want from the person or for their future. So, as an assistant election manager in NCD, I want that to be happen out in the street, or for this election to come. The election is free, and to tell everyone that it's free, so you don't have to be paying for anything or anybody to give you money to mark a leader, and you have to make a fair decision for yourself that you believe, or you go to what policy the leader is, and you want who to be represent yourself or the community in the election, in the parliament. And as much as we want, election have to be safe for everyone to go out for the polling and to be exercising their rights.
And so, Kathy, over to you. Have elections in Papua New Guinea been free, fair, and safe?
Papua New Guinea is a very diverse country, demographically, geographically, everything in terms of culture. And if we say whether it's safe, free, and fair, it is also the same wherever we are throughout the country. There are some places that are completely safe. It's free, and I could give an example, like in Eastern Britain. When I was studying back in 2012, back in Rabaul, you could see when it's time for elections, the community hall is there with the people who are monitoring the elections and conducting it, and people just walk in at their own time to vote and go. In that kind of environment, you can say that it is completely free. You go in, you mark, or you vote whoever you choose. At the same time, you decide on who you want to vote, and no one is telling you to. But in places where, like the Highlands where I come from, oh my God, I can say that completely not free. So there's some places where you make the decision to vote. But most times it comes back to tribal voting. And that's completely true for all the elections. Whoever the leader of the tribe chooses, or the councillor chooses in the council ward, it's what everyone has to vote for. Because at the end of the day, you all live together in a communal society. So I can say that it's not free and safe. And not just that, but when you look at saying fair, with the systems that we have, it's completely not fair. Because there's some boxes that are just dropped off by chopper on the way. Like, I give you an example. I was in Bosavi for the last 1 month, and one of the things I wanted to do was to also find out what are some of the things and that was something that I was talking with Postgre wanted us to do that, was to find out what are some of the issues that they would want the candidates to start talking about in their campaigning. And I started on talking to the people about that. So, and the first thing they told me, we've got a drama to play. And the drama they played was dropping off a ballot box for chopper in nowhere. Someone has to pick it up, and then you don't know what happens there. So we have a long way to go in terms of our systems to get these systems in place. If we can have ATM machines in almost all the provinces, we should do the same thing for the electronic, the NID thing. We've got to fast track the NID for it to be free, fair, and safe. Otherwise, we have seen what's happening, and it's affecting the lives of people. So from our view, I can say that's completely not fair. It's not safe. So many times in the highlands, not in places where like Eastern Britain and others, it's safe, it's free, it's fair. You decide who you want to choose. So the answer is both, depending on the geographic location and the ethnic group and the leaders from that place and the people themselves.
So varying from province to province, different scenarios will happen as from past experiences. Now, going back to Roslyn, what are some of the lessons learned from previous elections, drawing from past experiences, and like what Kathy just mentioned? We want a free, fair, and safe election, but in the PNG context, like how would you describe a free, fair, and safe elections?
Yeah, thank you. Looking at it from previous election, I won't really dawn on it, but we have a lot of issues that happen that mostly it really is bad on everyone's experience, and it's different from each one. But for NCD, it's a mini Papua New Guinea, and we do have things that is happening in the elections. A lot of things that is happening in the previous election in NCD. We have ballot paper banned, and we have polling official chase and all these things happening at the polling areas. But we do have security force there that, in the end it all calmed down and there was peace and all this. So coming for this election, we want it very, very safe. And for the commission now, that is now for this election, there will be a two-line. There will be a gender split for female, which female will have the right. They will have their own line, which this is one of those things that made us to go into that. So for the polling time, there will be, women are now treated with their own line that they have to go. So we had it done at the by-election, the Northwest by-election, and it was very good. A lot of women came out, they exercising their right, and they speak about it, even I think in Goroka election, by-election in Goroka. So this is one of those things that Commission saw that is important and for safe of women, especially women. And I think the same line will be used by people living with disability. They will be using that same line. And as much as I'm encouraging women folks for this election, please come out and do your, come out and exercise your rights. You will be treated as anybody. Like you will be part of the team. You will have your own line. And then it was very good at the by-election that I experienced it, or I was there to see it. Women was there, and then when the women ran out of the line, some of the male were joining it, or they don't want to join, but it was nice, it was fun. So this is one of those things that we looked at it to have it very fair for them, especially the women folks that was always left out. Yes.
And drawing TIPNG into this part of our conversation this morning to Alice, how does corruption impact elections here in Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Election simply is a process where we as citizens, practice our freedom to choose our leaders, and because we're a democracy, a type of government system where we can be able to choose our leaders, as compared to government that has dictatorship. They're not able to, practice that free will, and we're very lucky that we have that kind of government system where we're able to practice our free will to vote for the leaders that we want. Now, coming back to the question, how does corruption impact elections in Papua New Guinea? Now, if you're selling your vote or buying votes as well during elections, it has a really big impact on the outcome of the elections as a whole. Like what comes after election as well, it has a really huge impact. The leaders that we appoint, they're the people that will represent us. They're the people who will be providing basic services, the quality of education, the roads that are being built in the country. So that impact goes to that. The impact on the elections or corruption in the election, it has a very big impact on the outcome of elections as well. So it's very important that people understand, the key messages that are being carried out through civic awareness by various civil society groups that are currently, I know, that are on the ground and carrying out, civic awareness on very key important messages. So people need to understand that corruption, it has a huge impact on the elections, because what comes after elections is very important. The kind of services that are being brought into the community and the kind of leadership shown by those leaders. So, a classical example that we usually give in our awareness workshop is, what if, like for example, what if I sell my vote for 50 kina now, and then after elections in the next 5 years or 2 years, say my child gets sick and I'm trying to bring my daughter to the hospital, to the nearest clinic, and the clinic for some reason is closed, and the reason being that there's shortage of medicine. So it comes back to our leaders again. Who do we have that's being appointed that are responsible for those things? We want a leader who's very responsible, that he or she ensures that these basic services are being provided by the community, and that's the long-term effect that's seen by corruption in elections. Yeah.
As we're having our talk with TIPNG, and this is program number 4 on building elections integrity through partnerships project, and this topic this morning, 2022 national general elections. We are talking about what are free, fair and safe elections. Now, Roslyn, who is responsible for a free, fair and safe election?
Thank you. This question is very important to all of us, which it goes back to all of us. It's everyone's business to have a free, fair, and safe election. It's not only Electoral Commission, it's not only police and the stakeholders that we are now conducting or going into election. It's everyone. It's you as a citizen of this country, it's your business to have it free, fair, and safe election. I won't be the one telling you that you vote this leader or anyone to come and tell you. So you make sure that you play your part right. You make sure that you're not angry to someone if you're trying to go out. And then I will encourage everyone to exercise their right and make it that you own it. It's not only Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission here, we are just conducting it. It's by law that we are here as an organization to conduct the election and having it done, and then having someone to be in the parliament to represent us. But it's everyone's business to have it free, fair, and safe elections.
And here in the country, is this achievable for us, a free, fair and safe elections?
Yes, I think looking at it from, I'm with Electoral Commission for 10 years. Yes, it is. A lot of things is changing. A lot of people now know the importance of election. Even a lot of people are now charging whoever the candidate is for money. If you want my vote, you give me this and that. So if you look at it, there's a lot of change to it. So it's like, people are talking. People are even telling you, the leaders, that there's no service. They are looking at it, and they're even warning the leaders. If you look at it, they're freely telling the leaders, you don't do this, it comes to election, we'll decide. So, yes.
All right, Kathy, what is the impact of elections that are not free, fair, and safe?
The impact is the people's livelihood and lives. It's not a material thing, it's not a vehicle, or it's people's lives at the end of the day that are affected. And you look at people out there who have no access to hospitals, who have no access to roads, who have no access to services like communication, or even roads to have them access to income, so they send the children to school, so they can pay for bills, so they can have some good clothes, or soap at least. There are thousands out there who hardly have those things. And I was surprised myself to be in Bosavi. I walked for 3 days, no road there. And to a community that treats rice as something special food. It just took my heart that the least the leaders could do is service. And these people relentlessly cannot forever be resilient. People are dying from curable diseases. Literally dying from curable diseases. They can't even send their children to school. And I was asking them, so what do you think about these elections? We don't want to vote. We vote for services. And if the service cannot come to us, why will we vote? So at the end of the day, it's the people's livelihood we're thinking about. Someone out there is crying, is trying to deliver. And the last thing she could say, is Jesus. They have no hope. People's hopes are dying. Sorry, I'm emotional here, but we are playing up with people's life because of greed. Even the Electoral Commission, you have so much to do. And don't you say that it's enough. You are responsible for people's life. And what you are saying here is completely true. People will now have to be responsible. So your 50 kina is for now, it goes to the toilet and it's nothing. But you have a 5-year to live, not just 5 years. You have your child. The child has a future. And it comes back to the leader who is responsible for 10 million every year, an open member. What do you see at the end of the day? So we are talking about people's life when it comes to elections.
As we're having our conversation this morning, and this on the 2022 National General Elections, we're talking about what is free, fair and safe elections, and that part of our talk this morning, as we also will be talking a bit about voter advocacy or greater voter turnout, and also community ownership through the course of this conversation. But realistically speaking, the onus is on us to be responsible, and make the right choice at the end of the day, because as mentioned by the ladies and everyone, I'm sure, as we're all advocating for, is that the services will be trickling down to you as individuals, your families, and your communities, not for that one-off time, but this is supposed to be a never-ending story with the situation on service delivery. But if you don't make the right choice, that will not happen. And so this morning's conversation we are having is all about you being empowered to make the right decision and to vote for good leaders this coming 2022 National General Elections. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk on how can we advocate for a greater voter turnout for these 2022 National General Elections. Or rather 18 minutes to the top of the hour at 10 o'clock, and our building integrity through Elections Integrity through Partnership Project program number 4 on this 2022 National General Elections, and we have Ms. Kathy Alex, Program Manager, Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network, alongside her Ms. Roslyn Tabogani, Assistant NCD Election Manager, PNG Electoral Commission, and Ms. Alice Ori, Transparency International, PNG. Now, moving on, how can we advocate for greater voter turnout? Why is voting important?
Yeah, voting is very, very important because one vote makes a big difference. So that's why we've been, carrying out awareness and really encouraging those who have turned 18 years of age and above to register and participate in the national elections. And as I've mentioned earlier, we have a democracy type of government, and there's other countries out there like North Korea who has a dictatorship government where people are not able to participate in the elections, but they really want to, but they can't because of the kind of government system that they have, dictatorship government system. And we have the chance to choose the leaders that we have because of the type of government system we have, which is the democracy system. And why wouldn't you want to use use that opportunity or to vote for your leader that you want when other countries out there are really crying out to be able to have that right? So it's very important that all you listeners out there who are listening through the radio or live on Facebook, you must know that voting is very important because one vote makes a big difference. It has a very big impact on the lives of people, as what my other colleague Kathy has mentioned earlier in his session. So voting is important, and I encourage everyone who has turned 18 years of age to register and participate in the elections that are coming up.
And Roslyn, what can I do in my community to make sure that people I know rather turn up to vote?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, in the community, it's good to encourage each other. Maybe you start from your family and from family line and out in the community. Encourage them to those one that is eligible to vote and they are on the roll now, or to enroll to vote. Those ones that is turning 18, they're already 18 and they are not on the roll, to at least check the provincial office to get themselves registered. I know it's getting very crucial. The time is against us. We are really, most of our enrollment programs are winding up now around the country, the 22 province. For NCD, we just finished, we just had the 14 days enrollment, which just stopped. We cannot go more because of time is against us. We need to have a roll before June for the polling. So I will encourage you to be part of it, part of this election, or part of this program that is coming up for this time around. If you are not really interested, but be around to encourage each one to go out as an awareness, to tell them that to make sure that they check their names on the roll and to go and exercise their rights.
And is it too late to enroll on the electoral roll now? As you mentioned, you're just winding up. And what about those people, young people who will be turning 18 during the next few months leading up to the vote?
Okay. For our program, it was very late. Unfortunately, it was very late because we were not given funds early, but that's not an excuse. Our enrollment is still on until the 28th of April. Please come check the provincial office to get yourself enrolled. But if there's no Form 11 for you to enroll, please just check out, and then please be honest to yourself, because we have a lot of people that is dishonest. That's the thing that is really getting Electoral Commission to really have a bad role that we're going into election. And I will encourage as the citizen, if you are not on the roll, please get yourself enrolled, and please avoid being. There's another thing that is always an issue, and it's always happening in election. people go and vote in those names or just name of other people. Please, if you are doing that, you know that if you are going to be suffering the next 5 years, it's happening because of all these things. And it was very hard for the enrollment because we cannot just add names on the roll when this roll is already over the population rates. That's what is happening. We have a roll. The problem is always the roll that is issue with the roll that we have ghost name. Even this is still on the roll. We cannot clean it, and we don't have time and resources to do it very fast. Thank you.
And Kathy, what are some of the barriers to having a greater voter turnout? You know, especially from a women's perspective, I should say, or maybe younger people.
The first thing would be whether it is safe, especially for women and those living with disabilities and the young ones, whether it's safe, whether they're given the freedom to decide for themselves or someone decides for them. And the other thing would be if as a young person they see there's no hope, year in, year out with elections, and there's no service, there is no hope for a young person, that will be a discouragement for any young person to go in and vote. And that I've been hearing, or I've been hearing them saying that, oh, we've seen leaders, we voted, people have voted, even this is my first time to go and vote, but I know it's going to be the same thing. And I know those listeners out there who are listening to this is what you have in your mind, but please do take the opportunity to go and decide for yourself who you think should be the one. Your one vote makes a lot of difference on the leader. And remember, if someone comes and pays you for money, pay money for your vote, or if your counselor wants to decide for you, or if anyone wants to decide for you, you tell them, I'll decide for myself. I can read and write. I have mind that I can decide, and make the choice. Take the opportunity to go and choose the leader that you think should represent yourself. Don't let the decisions of the previous voters that decided for a leader that did not bring in service to you, that provided no hope for you. Take the chance, be there, vote for a person you think should. And that's the only time you have in a 5-year term to decide, to make one choice. And don't miss that opportunity, be there. But the barriers in terms of that, one would be the geographic location in terms of people coming in together. A lot of people, if awareness is reaching them that this time you have the opportunity, come out, don't be discouraged. Be there to vote, and they would. Otherwise, service is one thing. If they don't see service going into the areas, that's a big discouragement for voters to turn out to vote for the next election.
And in terms of awareness and advocacy, how much emphasis is placed on ensuring that young people need to participate? You know, like our country, obviously, we know that young people also do hold the majority of, the percentage of young voters. And so how much emphasis are we placing on trying to ensure that our young people do participate?
Okay, for us in the commission, we are really encouraging youth to get enrolled. So we were just given 15% of the Form 11, which is the new enrollment form. So we're encouraging, a lot of it is given to the opportunities given to the youths. Those turning 18 already, those going to be turning 18 before the issue of REACH on the 28th of April. We're getting them to enroll. So this time around for the enrollment, that was the last 14 days that happened in NCD, there were a lot of youths were encouraged. We were looking at youths turning 18 and going to 30 years old, and there was a very big gap. Looking at the roll too, there's a very big gap that we know, that gap between the youths and the older people. So for the enrollment, the note was for a youth to enroll. So there was 15%. The 15% of the Form 11, the new enrollment form, was given opportunity mostly to the youths.
At about 9 minutes to the top of the hour, and as we are slowly reaching the end of our conversation this morning, we will carry on through the next part of our talk, which is on community ownership. How do we aim for community ownership? Alice, what can be done by our communities to ensure that elections are carried out well in a free, fair and safe manner?
Yeah, so communities, we all have a responsibility to ensure that we do the right thing so that the elections are carried out well in a free, fair and safe manner. We have to ensure that there's no corruption during election. Also ensure that there's separate lines for women so that women feel free, fair and safe to vote during the elections. And also as a community, try as much as possible not to get involved in clan voting. I know that's a big thing up in the Highlands, and it doesn't allow for everyone to really freely or have their freedom to vote for who they want. Clan voting is not a good practice, so that's something that has to be done away. If we want to really promote the integrity of the electoral process, we really need to start changing the way we do things in a community. We have community leaders out there who take the lead, represent the communities, and I guess that responsibility falls upon you as the leader of a community. Do you want to see a change in your community? And by doing that, and if you're listening out there, you must ensure that those things do not happen during elections, especially clan voting or block voting. Ensure that there's separate lines for women to vote as well, and people living with disability as well. Ensure that they practice their right. Everyone is eligible to vote, whether you are someone who's living with a disability or not. You have the right to vote, whether you can read or write. There's always assistance that can be provided to those who cannot read or write or living with disability. So let's all work together as a community and ensure that we have a free, fair and safe election.
And Kathy, why do elections in Papua New Guinea sometimes lead to community violence?
As Alice just mentioned about block voting, tribal voting, every so-called candidate is kind of a big man in their own area, and most of the violence cases you would find in the highlands and not in the coastal areas. That normally happens when a candidate wins and the other one loses, or someone thinks that, oh, this one didn't win in a good way. Maybe there was corruption involved, there was some bribery involved in terms of making that leader become the leader of a particular place. And that leads to a lot of violence. And it's not just a violence that you see between, a typical example of the plane that got banned and buildings that got banned. It's all related to election violence. But you also find it within families. And it's not just when someone is winning, but because two candidates from the same area are standing in for elections, and then people split within themselves because of our society. We belong to a tribe and clan, and we support a leader, the other one supports another leader, and so sometimes it drives away families from their homes for the 5 years, and they live in somewhere else before they come back. So the election thing that we have in the country, I would say that for us to really improve the process we have, awareness is such, and I really want to thank the work that TIPNG does, and also the Electoral Commission for having the separate line and the awareness that you carry out. We need to have this as a 5-year program and not just a 6 months before an election. God, that's a program that runs right through the year and is to reach the rural areas. And you have partners like us who are out there in the communities that you cannot go, and we can be able to tailor awareness in such a way that people feel it, that when it comes to election, they know what it is. And message reaches them, and they decide before, and they make the decision to turn out and vote the right person. Even the leaders can be convinced to do what's right. When information doesn't get down to people, they do everything. Information is power, and we need to get it down to them within a 5-year period. As soon as one election is done, look at the pros and cons of it and the services that are not reaching people, and talk to the people. The people are the ones that are filling it out there, and they'll be the one to own it and make sure it's done properly. Awareness needs to be done in 5 years before the election happens.
Thank you, Kathy. And as we do have about 3 more minutes before the news at 10, I will ask this last question to Roslyn as we wrap up our conversation. How can we ensure that all citizens feel responsible for the conduct of a successful elections for this year, 2022?
Okay, for everyone, please, election is everyone's business. It's the society business. It's for all of us. It's for me, it's for you, and all of us. So please be responsible. Feel responsible that you own it. You are part of that program that is coming out. You're part of that process of the government that is to put a leader in the parliament to represent us. Like for me, I'm a citizen of this country too, and I work for Electoral Commission. I'm a mother to my home. But coming back to looking at it, you know, it's everyone's business. I give it back. I will have to be the one. I am going to put my mark to who I want to represent. So it's like it's everyone's business. So feel responsible when you go out there. And for this successful election 2022, we all have to own it. Say it's me. I have to be part of it. Part of the program, part of this program to put somebody to represent us.
Ladies, thank you so much for your time with us this morning as we are drawing closer to the news, a minute out of the news time. And so I will say thank you so much to Transparency International for this week's program number 4 on our Building Elections Integrity Through Partnerships project. And our topic for this morning was on the national general elections for 2022, and our guests joined us in the studio, Ms. Kathy Alex, Program Manager, Advancing PNG Women Leaders Network, and Ms. Roslyn Tabogani, the Assistant NCD Election Manager with the PNG Electoral Commission, and Ms. Alice Areori, Transparency International PNG. And that does wrap up our program 4 with TIPNG. Until next week at the same time, we do come around your way again for program number 5 and our talk on the elections as they are fast approaching 2022. You're listening to NBC Radio, Real PNG on 90.7 FM and 585 AM. It's time for the news, 10 o'clock.